This blockbuster trade was supposed to change everything. The move that would redefine an entire franchise, silence the critics, and send shockwaves across the sports world. But just weeks later, it's turning into a full-blown disaster. Whispers have turned into headlines. Locker rooms are divided, fans are furious, and behind the scenes, emotions are spiraling out of control. The superstar everyone thought would be the savior is now being called the mistake of the decade. Sources close to the team claim the tension started the moment the ink dried on that record-breaking contract. From fiery locker room confrontations to late-night social media posts that mysteriously vanish within minutes, it's clear this story is far from the fairy tale ending everyone expected. Even teammates have begun unfollowing each other online, insiders say. Rumors of jealousy, betrayal, and behind-the-scenes power plays are painting a picture no one saw coming. And while management insists everything's fine, fans aren't buying it. What really happened inside those team meetings? Why are star players refusing to speak to the media? And could this blockbuster trade, hyped as a dream move, already be tearing the franchise apart from the inside? Stay tuned, because this drama is just getting started. The night the trade was announced, the city erupted in celebration. Fans poured into the streets wearing jerseys and waving flags, chanting the name of their new superstar. It was supposed to be the dawn of a new era. Sports analysts called it a generational move. The general manager appeared on every talk show smiling, saying this was the missing piece to a championship puzzle. For a brief moment, hope was reborn. But behind those bright lights and cheering crowds, a storm was already forming. Sources say the tension started from day one. The superstar, Leon Drace, walked into the training facility like a king entering his kingdom. He had that swagger, the kind that said, "I've arrived." But not everyone welcomed it. The team's longtime captain, Marcus Hale, wasn't impressed. Marcus had carried the franchise through dark years, and now he felt pushed aside. One witness described their first meeting as cold, almost hostile. The handshake was brief, the smiles forced. During the first week of training camp, cracks began to show. Leon demanded to run the offense his way. He called out plays that weren't in the team's system. Coaches looked uncomfortable. Teammates whispered to each other during water breaks. One assistant coach later confided, "It felt like we had two alphas fighting for control." After a closed-door scrimmage, reports leaked that Leon and Marcus got into a shouting match. Apparently, Leon accused Marcus of not being able to keep up anymore. While Marcus shot back, "You think you can buy chemistry?" Teammates had to step in before it turned physical. By the time practice ended, Leon stormed out of the gym, throwing his towel to the ground. Cameras caught him leaving early, expression blank but fists clenched. Social media exploded that night. Fans noticed that Marcus and Leon had unfollowed each other on every platform. Within hours, rumors spread like wildfire. "The team is divided," one blogger wrote. Another fan commented, "We didn't trade for a leader, we traded for a diva." But the real drama unfolded in the locker room. Leon started arriving late to team meetings. Sometimes he wore headphones during coaches' speeches. At one point, when a teammate tried to joke around, Leon reportedly replied, "I didn't come here to make friends." The statement spread quickly, and the damage was done. Meanwhile, Marcus found himself in a strange position. He was still the captain, but his influence was fading. The younger players gravitated toward Leon, drawn by his fame, his million-dollar endorsements, his lifestyle. Leon hosted lavish after-practice parties at his penthouse, complete with private chefs, music, and luxury cars parked out front. Everyone wanted to be seen there, everyone except Marcus. A reporter who managed to sneak into one of those parties described it as a circus of egos. Leon stood in the center, wearing designer shades indoors, telling stories about his past victories. He made sly comments about the old system holding him back, clearly referring to Marcus and the coaching staff. Some laughed, others stayed silent, but word of those remarks traveled fast. By the time preseason began, the atmosphere was toxic. The team looked disconnected on the court. Passes were sloppy. Communication broke down. One game, Leon visibly rolled his eyes after Marcus missed a shot. Cameras caught it instantly. It played on every sports channel the next day, over and over again. Analysts dissected the body language, claiming it proved the rumors were true. Behind closed doors, the general manager tried to do damage control. Meetings were held, statements were drafted, and the team's social media account posted a picture of Leon and Marcus shaking hands. The caption read, "Brothers in battle." But fans weren't convinced. One comment with thousands of likes read, "That handshake looks faker than the trade itself." Then came the first major twist. An anonymous source leaked a recording of a locker room argument. The audio was muffled, but Leon's voice was clear enough. He could be heard saying, "I'm tired of carrying people who can't keep up." Another voice, believed to be Marcus, shouted back, "This was my team before you bought your way in." The clip went viral overnight. Sports talk shows ran with it for days. Sponsors began to worry. One of Leon's endorsement deals quietly disappeared. The team's public relations department worked overtime to contain the fallout. Leon posted a vague apology online, something about passion for winning and miscommunication. But by then, the damage was irreversible. Even the coaching staff wasn't immune to the chaos. Coach Reynolds, a respected veteran, found himself caught in the middle. He tried to mediate, arranging one-on-one sessions with both players. Insiders say Leon accused the coach of favoritism toward Marcus. A week later, Marcus skipped a scheduled media appearance, citing personal reasons. The rumors grew darker, whispers of ultimatums, trade requests, and locker room factions. Fans who once celebrated the Blockbuster deal now filled the arena with mixed emotions. Some booed Leon when he missed a shot. Others still cheered, believing he would turn things around. But the energy had changed. Every game felt heavy. The chemistry that once defined the team had evaporated. Then came the breaking point. After a crushing loss to a rival team, Leon refused to speak to reporters. Marcus did, but his words only fueled speculation. "You can't build trust overnight," he said quietly. "Some things take time and respect." It sounded like a message directed straight at Leon. The video of that interview spread instantly, drawing millions of views and heated debates. The next day, Leon posted a cryptic message on his story. "Sometimes loyalty is overrated." Within minutes, fans began dissecting every word. Was he talking about Marcus? The coach? The organization? Nobody knew for sure, but everyone had an opinion. What happened next stunned everyone. During a routine practice, witnesses say Leon walked out mid-session after an argument with Marcus. Apparently, Marcus confronted him about his attitude. Voices were raised. Balls stopped bouncing. Players froze. One teammate later told reporters, "You could feel the anger. It wasn't about basketball anymore." Leon left the court without saying another word. Cameras caught him driving off, leaving his teammates behind. The story made national headlines. "Blockbuster trade falling apart," one headline screamed. "Franchise in turmoil," said another. Management called an emergency meeting that evening. The mood was grim. Some executives wanted to fine Leon for his behavior. Others feared pushing him too far. The team owner, known for staying silent, reportedly said just 5 words: "We can't lose control now." As the sun set that night, fans gathered outside the arena holding signs, some defending Leon, others calling for him to be benched. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. The franchise that once dreamed of glory was now drowning in drama, and nobody seemed to know how to stop it. And just when it seemed things couldn't get worse, a mysterious insider came forward with claims that would change everything. They hinted at hidden deals, secret meetings, and a betrayal that went far beyond the locker room. Whispers spread that the Blockbuster trade wasn't just about talent, it was about revenge. Just about talent, it was about revenge. Online, something about passion for winning and miscommunication. But by then, the damage was irreversible. Even the coaching staff wasn't immune to the chaos. Coach Reynolds, a respected veteran, found himself caught in the middle. He tried to mediate, arranging one-on-one sessions with both players. Insiders say Leon accused the coach of favoritism toward Marcus. A week later, Marcus skipped a scheduled media appearance, citing personal reasons. The rumors grew darker. Whispers of ultimatums, trade requests, and locker room factions. Fans who once celebrated the Blockbuster deal now filled the arena with mixed emotions. Some booed Leon when he missed a shot. Others still cheered, believing he would turn things around. But the energy had changed. Every game felt heavy. The chemistry that once defined the team had evaporated. Then came the breaking point. After a crushing loss to a rival team, Leon refused to speak to reporters. Marcus did, but his words only fueled speculation. "You can't build trust overnight," he said quietly. "Some things take time and respect." It sounded like a message directed straight at Leon. The video of that interview spread instantly, drawing millions of views and heated debates. The next day, Leon posted a cryptic message on his story. "Sometimes loyalty is overrated." Within minutes, fans began dissecting every word. Was he talking about Marcus? The coach? The organization? Nobody knew for sure, but everyone had an opinion. What happened next stunned everyone. During a routine practice, witnesses say Leon walked out mid-session after an argument with Marcus. Apparently, Marcus confronted him about his attitude. Voices were raised. Balls stopped bouncing. Players froze. One teammate later told reporters, "You could feel the anger. It wasn't about basketball anymore." Leon left the court without saying another word. Cameras caught him driving off, leaving his teammates behind. The story made national headlines. "Blockbuster trade falling apart," one headline screamed. "Franchise in turmoil," said another. Management called an emergency meeting that evening. The mood was grim. Some executives wanted to fine Leon for his behavior. Others feared pushing him too far. The team owner, known for staying silent, reportedly said just 5 words: "We can't lose control now." As the sun set that night, fans gathered outside the arena holding signs, some defending Leon, others calling for him to be benched. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. The franchise that once dreamed of glory was now drowning in drama, and nobody seemed to know how to stop it. And just when it seemed things couldn't get worse, a mysterious insider came forward with claims that would change everything. They hinted at hidden deals, secret meetings, and a betrayal that went far beyond the locker room. Whispers spread that the Blockbuster trade wasn't just about talent, it was about revenge. But who was pulling the strings? And why was Leon really brought to the team? The truth, it seemed, was about to explode. The next morning, the entire city buzzed with speculation. Radio hosts debated endlessly, fans flooded comment sections, and journalists scrambled for answers. Nobody knew who the anonymous insider was, but their words carried weight. They claimed the trade had been orchestrated not by the coaching staff or even the general manager, but by someone higher up, someone with a personal agenda. Whispers began pointing to the team owner's inner circle, suggesting that this so-called Blockbuster move had more to do with pride than performance. Inside the locker room, trust had completely evaporated. Leon showed up to practice 2 hours late, wearing dark glasses and ignoring everyone. Marcus was already there, silently stretching, surrounded by a few loyal teammates who kept their distance from Leon's group. Even the simplest drills felt like walking through a minefield. One player passed the ball too hard to Leon, who let it bounce away on purpose. Laughter followed, but not the good kind. It was sharp, bitter, mocking. Coach Reynolds finally blew his whistle and barked, "Enough! This isn't basketball anymore!" The room fell silent, but the damage was done. The players dispersed, muttering under their breath. Later that afternoon, the coach was summoned to a private meeting with upper management. When he came out, his expression was pale, almost defeated. Rumors spread quickly. Coach Reynolds had been warned to get results fast or face consequences. Some said the owner wanted Leon to have more control over the team's system. Others whispered that Marcus was being slowly pushed out. Either way, the message was clear. Someone powerful was picking sides. Meanwhile, the mysterious insider reappeared, this time dropping screenshots of private messages allegedly exchanged between Leon and a high-ranking executive weeks before the trade. The texts hinted at promises made behind closed doors. "You'll run the team your way, and we'll make sure certain voices are silenced." Fans were stunned. Could the team's beloved captain have been betrayed by his own front office? As the scandal gained momentum, sports media went into overdrive. Reporters camped outside the team's facility. Every quote, every expression, every sideline gesture became evidence in the growing drama. Talk shows invited former players and analysts to speculate. One commentator said, "This is no longer a team issue. This is a full-scale power struggle." That night, Marcus broke his silence. He appeared on a late-night interview show, calm but visibly tired. When the host asked about the alleged betrayal, Marcus hesitated before saying, "Sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who stand to gain from your downfall." His words hit like a thunderclap. Social media lit up instantly. Fans were divided. Some hailed him as a hero for speaking out. Others accused him of feeding the chaos. Leon, on the other hand, fired back with an online post of his own. "I don't have time for old grudges. I'm here to win." But the post didn't have the desired effect. Thousands of comments poured in, questioning his motives, mocking his attitude, dissecting his every word. The once celebrated superstar was now the symbol of everything wrong with modern sports ego. Behind the scenes, Marcus's frustration reached its peak. He called a private team meeting, determined to clear the air. But Leon didn't show up. Instead, he posted a picture of himself at a high-end restaurant that same night, captioned, "Focus on the good energy." The post felt like a slap in the face to everyone trying to fix the team's fractured unity. Several players reportedly walked out of the meeting in silence, realizing things were beyond repair. By mid-season, the team's record had plummeted. What was once a championship favorite was now barely holding a playoff spot. Fans booed louder, merchandise sales dropped, and media scrutiny intensified. One newspaper headline summed it up: "From dream deal to nightmare." But amid the chaos, something unexpected happened. Marcus received a private message from a former staff member who had left the organization months before. The message contained shocking information, evidence suggesting that Leon's trade had been part of a larger scheme to push Marcus into early retirement. Attached were emails between executives discussing transition plans and the new face of the franchise. Marcus was stunned. All those years of loyalty, all those sacrifices, and now, this. The next morning, he confronted the general manager behind closed doors. Voices were raised. The confrontation was intense. Marcus slammed the printed emails on the desk and demanded the truth. Witnesses say the GM tried to calm him down, insisting it was just business. But Marcus wasn't having it. "You used me," he shouted. "You used this entire city." Security eventually had to escort him out of the building. Word of the incident spread within hours. Reporters camped outside Marcus's house, waiting for a statement. Fans gathered with signs chanting his name. Others accused him of stirring the pot, but something inside Marcus had shifted. He wasn't just fighting for his place on the team anymore. He was fighting for his legacy. Meanwhile, Leon's image continued to crumble. Sponsors pulled out one after another. Talk shows mocked his attitude. Memes flooded the internet. The once golden boy was now painted as arrogant, selfish, and toxic. Even some of his closest allies began distancing themselves. Then came the next twist. Leaked footage surfaced online showing Leon arguing with the assistant coach during a timeout. In the video, Leon appeared to shove a clipboard out of the coach's hands while shouting, "You don't tell me what to do." The video spread like wildfire. The franchise released a statement claiming it was taken out of context, but fans weren't buying it. Things took an even darker turn when reports emerged that Leon had demanded a trade. The very same trade that had once brought him in with fanfare. He wanted out. Insiders claimed he felt disrespected and unsupported. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The trade that was supposed to save the team was now threatening to destroy it completely. As the team continued to lose games, tensions reached a boiling point. Marcus refused to share the locker room with Leon. Leon refused to speak to local media. The coach was reportedly considering resignation. The general manager avoided cameras altogether. The once proud franchise was now a circus of rumors and resentment. One evening, after another humiliating loss, Leon was seen leaving the arena alone. A few fans shouted insults, calling him the worst trade in history. For a moment, he stopped and looked back, expressionless. No one knew what he was thinking, but something in his eyes looked broken. Not angry, not proud, just empty. The next morning, the sports world woke up to yet another shock. Leon had vanished from team activities. No one knew where he was. His phone went straight to voicemail. Insiders whispered about burnout, about family issues, about mental strain. Others suspected he was staging a silent protest against the organization. Whatever the reason, the damage was done. The team called an emergency press conference. The general manager looked visibly shaken as he spoke. "We're working through internal matters," he said carefully, avoiding questions. "We ask for privacy and patience." But the silence only fueled more speculation. And just when everyone thought they'd seen it all, another leak hit the internet. A private voicemail from Leon to an unknown recipient. His voice sounded tired, almost defeated. "They set me up," he said. "They wanted me to take the fall." Fans were stunned. Who was they? What did he mean by set up? And could it be true that Leon himself was also a victim in this spiraling disaster? As those questions spread across the airwaves, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a story about bad chemistry anymore. It was about manipulation, betrayal, and the dark side of ambition. And the deeper people dug, the uglier the truth was beginning to look. The leaked voicemail changed everything. Suddenly, the narrative flipped. For months, Leon had been painted as the villain, arrogant, selfish, impossible to work with. But now, people started asking a new question. What if he wasn't the mastermind behind the chaos? What if he was just another pawn? The phrase, "they set me up," echoed across sports networks like an alarm bell. Analysts replayed the audio clip frame by frame, breaking down his tone, his pauses, his sigh at the end. "That's not anger," one commentator said on air. "That's exhaustion. That's a man who's been broken by something bigger than basketball." Inside the team facility, panic spread like wildfire. Public relations scrambled to control the damage, but it was too late. The franchise had lost control of the story. A popular fan page launched an investigation of its own. claiming to have inside information that the team's front office had orchestrated the drama to cover up internal corruption. Hashtags began trending. Every journalist in the country wanted a piece of the scandal. Marcus, too, saw the voicemail. At first, he dismissed it as another attempt by Leon to deflect blame, but something about the voice, the weariness, the sincerity, gnawed at him. That night, unable to sleep, he listened to it again and again. He began wondering whether Leon's arrival was really his fault at all, or if both of them had been manipulated from the very beginning. Then, another twist. A former team executive, now living overseas, reached out to a reporter with explosive new claims. They revealed that before the trade, the franchise had been on the verge of financial collapse. Sponsorships were drying up, attendance had dropped, and management was desperate for a headline move. According to this source, the owner demanded a blockbuster deal, no matter the cost. Leon's acquisition wasn't just about winning, it was about survival. But the price was steeper than anyone imagined. In exchange for joining, Leon had allegedly been promised special privileges, control over marketing decisions, input on player rotations, and even influence in front office meetings. The old guard, led by Marcus, was never supposed to coexist with him. One insider put it bluntly. They wanted a new face for the franchise, and Marcus didn't fit the brand anymore. The revelation hit Marcus hard. For years, he had given everything to that organization, playing through injuries, sacrificing personal milestones, mentoring younger players. To find out he was being phased out, not for performance, but for image, felt like a knife in the back. Privately, he told a friend, I wasn't losing to Leon. I was losing to a system that forgot what loyalty means. Meanwhile, Leon finally broke his silence. In a surprise move, he appeared in an unplanned live stream late one night, sitting in a dimly lit room. His face looked pale, his eyes heavy. Thousands of viewers tuned in instantly. I didn't come here to destroy anything, he began softly. I came here because I was promised a chance to lead, a chance to build something real. But from the first day, it felt wrong. He went on to describe how management had pressured him to act like a savior, how they fed him stories about internal problems and told him Marcus was holding the team back. They convinced him he was rescuing the franchise. They played us against each other, Leon said, his voice trembling. They wanted drama. They wanted headlines. And we gave it to them. Within minutes, the video went viral. Millions watched, shared, and debated every word. Fans who once hated Leon began posting apologies. Marcus, watching from home, reportedly whispered to himself, "They really did this to both of us." But the franchise wasn't ready to admit guilt. The next morning, they released a cold, carefully worded statement denying all allegations. They called Leon's comments inaccurate and emotionally charged. But instead of calming things down, the statement poured gasoline on the fire. Players from other teams started chiming in on social media, hinting that similar manipulations had happened elsewhere. What began as a sports scandal was now turning into a full-blown industry exposé. Things escalated even further when Marcus and Leon were spotted meeting privately at a small cafe on the outskirts of the city. Paparazzi photos showed them sitting across from each other, faces tense but serious. Fans went wild. What were they discussing? Reconciliation, revenge. Nobody knew for sure, but the image alone sent shockwaves. Later that evening, a video leaked from a bystander who overheard part of their conversation. The audio was faint, but one line from Marcus was unmistakable. "We both lost everything because of them." Leon replied, "Then maybe it's time they lose something too." The clip sent the internet into meltdown. Speculation ran rampant. Were they planning to go public together, expose the truth, or even walk away from the franchise completely? A few days later, Marcus and Leon made their next move. They appeared side by side at a press conference, something nobody thought they'd ever see. The tension in the room was electric. Cameras flashed non-stop as reporters shouted questions. Leon spoke first. "There's been a lot of noise," he said quietly. "But here's the truth. None of this started in the locker room. It started in the boardroom." Marcus nodded, adding, "We were manipulated into fighting each other while the real problem went unchecked. This isn't about ego or chemistry. This is about exploitation." Their words landed like a bomb. Journalists gasped. The general manager, who sat in the front row, turned pale. Within minutes, the clip spread across every major platform. News anchors called it a reckoning. Fans erupted in support, demanding investigations, accountability, and even ownership change. But behind that united front, tension still simmered. Marcus and Leon might have found common ground, but their wounds ran deep. Trust couldn't be rebuilt overnight. Privately, Marcus still blamed Leon for the arrogance that had fueled the early drama. Leon, meanwhile, resented Marcus for believing the rumors too easily. Still, they both knew they had a shared enemy now, and that was enough to keep them aligned, at least for the moment. As pressure mounted, the league launched an official inquiry. Investigators began reviewing contracts, emails, and financial statements. Rumors of corruption, insider deals, and falsified reports began to surface. Sponsors started backing out. The team's stock value plummeted. For the first time, fans started chanting not for players, but for management to resign. One sleepless night, Marcus received a call from an anonymous number. The voice on the other end was low and hurried. "They're deleting files," it said. "They're covering their tracks." Then the line went dead. Marcus immediately called Leon, who was equally alarmed. Together, they decided to act before the truth disappeared forever. They met with a trusted reporter, the same one who first exposed the insider leaks, and handed over a series of documents they had quietly gathered. Emails, voice notes, transaction logs. The evidence was damning. Within 48 hours, the story broke nationally. The franchise had been manipulating trade details to inflate player value and conceal financial mismanagement. Leon and Marcus weren't enemies. They were scapegoats. Leon and Marcus weren't enemies. They were scapegoats. Fans flooded the streets again, but this time not in celebration. Signs read, "Justice for Marcus and Leon," and "Save our team." What started as a personal feud had evolved into a revolution. As the scandal consumed the sports world, both players found themselves at a crossroads. Their reputations, once shredded by lies, were slowly being rebuilt. But the question remained: could they ever truly trust each other again? One night, after another wave of media chaos, Leon sent Marcus a simple text: "We did what we had to do." Marcus replied, "Yeah, but at what cost?" The two men had finally exposed the truth, but it came with scars that might never fully heal. And while the world now knew the real villains behind the Blockbuster disaster, the story was far from over. Because powerful people don't go down without a fight. As the investigation deepened, the team's empire began to crumble from within. Executives who had once boasted about the trade of the century now avoided the cameras like fugitives. Reports surfaced of boardroom arguments, shredded documents, and frantic midnight calls between lawyers. The owner, once untouchable, vanished from public view altogether. The same man who had paraded Leon's jersey on stage during the press conference was now being accused of fraud, manipulation, and exploiting players for financial gain. Leon and Marcus, once bitter rivals, now found themselves as the unlikely faces of a growing movement. They appeared on talk shows, podcasts, and interviews, speaking about transparency, respect, and the dark underbelly of the sports industry. But even as they stood together publicly, the tension between them never fully disappeared. They were united by truth, not by trust. One reporter described their dynamic perfectly. They walk side by side, but their shadows never touch. Behind the scenes, the toll was enormous. Leon's mental state had deteriorated during months of chaos, the sleepless nights, the constant attacks, the public humiliation. It had left scars deeper than anyone could see. He started keeping to himself, showing up late to interviews, often silent during team events. Friends said he seemed distant, as if haunted by everything that had happened. Marcus, meanwhile, faced his own demons. Years of loyalty to the organization had left him with nothing but betrayal. He questioned every decision he'd ever made, every handshake, every promise. Sometimes, he'd sit in the empty locker room long after everyone else had gone, staring at his old captain's armband, remembering the days when the game was about passion, not politics. Then came the breaking news that stunned everyone. The league officially suspended the team's owner pending further investigation. Charges of financial misconduct and ethics violations were filed. Multiple executives resigned within hours. The once proud franchise was now the center of the biggest scandal in sports history. Fans were heartbroken, but also relieved that justice was finally catching up. For Leon and Marcus, it was a bittersweet victory. They had won the battle for truth, but their careers had paid the price. Endorsement deals had vanished. Trust within the locker room was shattered. Even after the league cleared their names, they couldn't escape the label that had defined them for months. The trade gone wrong. A documentary crew approached them, offering to tell their story in full. At first, both declined. The pain was still too raw. But eventually, they agreed, hoping that by sharing their journey, they could help others understand the cost of manipulation and greed. The filming began quietly, capturing late-night conversations, moments of silence, and the raw vulnerability of two men who had been broken and rebuilt by the same machine. One powerful scene showed Leon sitting alone on the team bench inside an empty arena. He looked around the seats that had once been filled with fans chanting his name. "I used to think this was everything," he said softly. "The lights, the cameras, the cheers. But now I realize the real game was never out here. It was up there." He pointed toward the luxury boxes high above. "That's where they play for power." Marcus's story was just as poignant. In another scene, he stood in front of a wall covered with old photos. Him holding trophies, hugging teammates, smiling beside coaches who had since betrayed him. "You think loyalty protects you," he said quietly. "But in this business, loyalty just makes you easier to use." When the documentary aired, it became an instant sensation. Fans cried, journalists apologized, and the sports world collectively reflected on how quickly it had turned players into villains for the sake of a narrative. The title, fittingly, was the blockbuster that broke the game. But the story didn't end there. Weeks later, new rumors began to swirl. Whispers that a rival franchise had reached out to both Marcus and Leon with an offer. Not just to play together, but to rebuild from scratch. The offer was bold. Total creative control, leadership roles, and a promise of transparency. The idea seemed impossible. The two men who once couldn't share a locker room now being asked to build a team together. At first, both were skeptical. Old wounds don't heal easily. Marcus worried it would reopen everything they'd fought to escape. Leon feared the public would see it as a publicity stunt. But the more they talked, the more they realized something. Maybe the only way to truly move on was to take back control of their story. A secret meeting was held with the new franchise's executives. The atmosphere was tense but hopeful. The deal on the table was revolutionary. A dual leadership model, where players would have an equal voice in decisions. No more backroom politics, no more hidden agendas. After hours of discussion, Leon and Marcus exchanged a look. One that carried months of pain, anger, and reluctant respect. Then Marcus said softly, "Let's do it." The announcement broke the internet. Sports channels couldn't stop replaying the headline. Former rivals joined forces in shocking comeback. Fans who had once chosen sides were now united in excitement. Memes flooded the internet, turning what had once been a tragedy into a story of redemption. But even as they prepared for this new chapter, ghosts of the past lingered. During one of the first team practices, a reporter shouted from the sidelines, asking Marcus if he trusted Leon now. Marcus paused, then smiled faintly. "Trust isn't given," he said. "It's rebuilt, one game at a time." Leon nodded silently beside him, a hint of gratitude in his eyes. In the weeks that followed, something remarkable happened. The two began to click on the court in ways nobody had ever seen before. Their chemistry, once toxic, had transformed into something powerful. Not because they forgot the past, but because they learned from it. The crowd could feel it. Every pass, every play, every gesture carried the weight of everything they had survived. Then came their first official game together. The arena was packed, the air electric. Fans held up signs that read, "From enemies to brothers," and "The real comeback story." As the clock ticked down and the final buzzer sounded, the scoreboard told the story. They had won. Leon and Marcus hugged at center court, surrounded by cheering teammates. For the first time in years, the noise wasn't chaos. It was joy. After the game, reporters crowded around them. One asked Leon what this win meant to him. He smiled and said, "It means we finally took back our story." Marcus added, "And this time, nobody's writing it for us." Outside, fans celebrated late into the night. Social media flooded with messages of hope and forgiveness. It wasn't just about sports anymore. It was about resilience, about standing up to systems that exploit, about finding redemption after ruin. Still, as the cameras dimmed and the lights went down, both men knew the scars would never fully fade. The trade that had once destroyed them had also forced them to confront who they really were. In a strange, poetic way, it had given them freedom. Leon once said in an interview, "Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is exactly what you need to wake up." Marcus nodded beside him, adding, "Yeah, this trade wasn't a disaster. It was a lesson." And just like that, the story that began with betrayal ended with rebirth. Two men who had every reason to hate each other became symbols of strength, change, and forgiveness. The franchise that once broke them now served as a warning to the world. And somewhere out there, in that same city where the fans once booed, a child wore a jersey with both their names stitched together. A reminder that even from the wreckage of a so-called disaster, legends can rise again. And that right there is how the so-called blockbuster trade that promised glory turned into one of the most dramatic sagas in sports history. A story of pride, betrayal, and redemption that nobody saw coming. From the moment the deal was signed to the final scene of forgiveness, every twist felt like something out of a movie. Fans were left speechless, the league was shaken, and the two men at the center of it all, Leon and Marcus, went from enemies to survivors of a system that nearly destroyed them both. But the question still lingers, was it really over? Could the wounds of betrayal ever fully heal? And what happens when the cameras turn off and the crowd moves on? Some say Leon and Marcus are already planning something even bigger behind the scenes. Others believe old rivalries never truly die, they just wait for their moment to return. One thing's for sure, the fallout from this trade isn't finished yet. What do you think? Was this the biggest disaster in sports history, or the greatest comeback story ever told? Let us know your thoughts down below. Do you believe Leon and Marcus will stick together, or will old tensions come roaring back when the pressure rises again? If you enjoyed this deep dive into the drama, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat, and ring the bell so you never miss a twist in the wild world of sports and fame. This was one story that proved one thing: sometimes even the biggest trades can cost more than anyone ever expected. Stay tuned, because this saga is far from over.